Welcome to Real World Real Estate, where we will explore, examine, and explain the real process of buying or selling real estate. Here is your host, Stephen Clyde.
Hi, everybody. Stephen Clyde here with Remax Preferred, Remax at Cherry Hill, and your host of Real World Real Estate. Today's super exciting for me. I have an amazing agent from the West Coast on with us. Now, if any of you watch HGTV or Bravo and you've watched $1 Million Listings LA, well, that's all BS because I have the real top agent from LA County with us, right? The two Joshes and whatever the other one's names are going to look to her for advice. She's so good that when my daughter was selling her house in Los Angeles, she's the one I called. So she's the one the pros call for advice in LA. She's an amazing agent. She's ranked in America's best. She's one of the top 100 most influential agents in the country. She's the top 1% of all Remax agents worldwide. So she's in my quiet little group because we're very subtle, all those type A personalities when we get together. She's on the board of directors of the Cheetah Conservation Fund, and she's an equestrian. She plays polo. And all of that sounds really cool. But the one thing that I think is truly amazing, because I never knew this actually existed, she's a native of Los Angeles. I think everyone came from somewhere else. She's actually born and raised there and a resident of Sherman Oaks. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us today on Real World Real Estate. It's great to see you and great to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. This is awesome. I'm glad to have it.
So I know there's a lot more in your background that I left out. If you want to enlighten everyone as to what I missed.
I mean, you gave a great little summary. That's perfect. I am born and raised in Los Angeles, grew up at the beach, actually, and had chosen to move to the San Fernando Valley about 20 some odd years, 25 years ago. I actually like the weather better away from the beach. So that's just a little something. And I've been a realtor for 19 years this year, almost 20 years. So, you know, one thing people always ask is, why did you become a realtor? What made you want to do this? When I bought my house, I had a horrific experience with the person who was representing me. So I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. And I just started helping my friends on the weekends when I had another job, you know, in the entertainment industry, telling them what to watch out for, what to be aware of. And little by little, they all kept saying, you need to do this, you know, more than our person. So that's kind of how it happened. And I hit the ground running and I've never looked back. It's been awesome.
So,
I love it.
I know you covered most of the market there, but you're actually living in Sherman Oaks. So that's your sweet spot, should I say?
Yeah, I'd say the San Fernando Valley, which is, you know, Sherman Oaks, Encino, Studio City, kind of all along the Hollywood Hills on the backside, is about 80%. Because I did grow up here, a lot of what I do is when I have buyers, especially, that's mostly where my listings are. When I have buyers, I'm really great at taking them to other parts of the city they may not have heard of or known of, and, you know, showing them what their money gets in different markets. So I can take people to the beach because that's where I grew up, and our office is based on the west side. And then we have the Valley office too. So I'm kind of spread out. I'm not one of those agents who just works a tiny little neighborhood.
That's got to be hard in LA County, especially with the traffic and everything to spread that, right?
It is. And that's why, you know, the geography here is hard for people to understand, especially when they have friends or family moving here, or they call us and say, you know, oh, you're in LA. There's no way any realtor could actually service the whole county. It goes in 2 hours in 3 directions. So it's way too big. It's even the city is hard because of the density.
Right.
So I really I work in the areas that I know and that I can help people in. And otherwise, I have some great agents that I can partner with if needed.
Well, yeah, that's between Buffini and our Remax Elite groups. I find that I can take care of anyone in just about any corner of the globe that they need.
Exactly. Yeah. And those are the same two. Those are my two core, because I'm a Buffini person and the Remax group that we are a member of. And those are really the main places that I go for help.
Yeah. It's great. And they've never had anyone turn me down for help.
Right.
Which the same as you joining us here today. And I know you're busy like the rest of us are in this insane, crazy market. And to take some time out of your day is greatly, greatly appreciated and respected. So thank you.
Thank you.
So, I know the phenomenon's happening worldwide right now with this inventory shortage.
Yes.
LA County and Southern California had an inventory issue before COVID.
Right.
So how has that compounded over the last 12 months for you?
It has gotten insane, to be honest. Since the original shutdown last March, we have not slowed down at all. I know some people did have a month or two where people were a little bit in a panic, but since then, our inventory is just even lower. Today in our office meeting, they talked about it, that our inventory now is an all-time low of all time, and demand is an all-time high. So before the pandemic, we had maybe a 2-month supply of housing. Right now, it's literally probably less than a month.
Right.
Most 95% of listings go on the market and are sold within 7 days and get a huge amount of offers. I put a house on the market last Monday because we have such tight COVID restrictions in LA. We're not allowed to do group showings or open houses or any of that. So we have to systemize everything for the showings and do everything by appointment. And you have a max of how many you can do, in a certain amount of time, even with a lockbox, because you can only have one group there at a time. So we put a house on the market on Monday, we show it for 7 days, and we ask for offers the following Monday. And yesterday was that Monday for the listing of last week. And we had about 170 showings in that time. And I got 77 offers.
How do you manage going through evaluating and reviewing with your client 77 offers?
It's not fun. I don't want 77 offers. This is a house that honestly, I thought we might get 10 because it comes with a tenant in the back unit. And in California, you can't get rid of anyone right now, no matter what.
In New Jersey also, you can't.
So yeah, and he doesn't want to leave either. So we are having to sell the front house, vacant, but you get a tenant. So that you would think would dissuade a massive amount of people, but it's quite the opposite. So what we do is we put everything on a spreadsheet. I mean, we're used to multiple offers. Almost every year I've sold real estate, I get multiple offers on every house. So we have a spreadsheet template that's set up, the main items down the left, offers go from left to right, and we put them on the spreadsheet because there's no way. Our offers here are almost 30 pages now. So we can't have sending that to the client. They don't know what they're looking at.
Right.
And we go, do a phone call with them. We send them the spreadsheet. We do a phone call. And on my version of the spreadsheet, I'm color coding the offers based on, red, green, and yellow, basically for every item. So if you can imagine, you've got offer A, and it has the price, the escrow time, the type of financing, inspections. Each one of those categories, I give a red, green, or yellow based on its comparison to the other offers, So, and then when I'm talking to them on the phone, I'm walking them through what every offer is. And I'm explaining, well, this one has 7 days for inspection. These people are asking 20. This one is all cash, all of those factors. And we basically just thin the herd and try to keep narrowing it down. In the last 4 months, we've had to get even more aggressive with our marketing tactics. And when we're asking for offers for agents, we're now giving a guideline sheet just to try to cut down on the work and the amount of counteroffers, telling people, just give us your highest and best from the get-go.
Well, yeah, and we're seeing that here. We're not quite to the extreme that you are,
right?
But we're seeing the same thing, and we're doing a little bit different. We're just going live that first day and let the offers come in as they come.
Oh,
so we're seeing some homes going at multiple offers in hours, right? So
right,
your 7-day time frame is almost artificial in the fact because you're holding it until everybody gets a chance to get into that.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to get an offer in the first hour from the first person who shows up, and then nobody else has had a chance to see the house. I don't know about how you do the showings there. We haven't had a chance to get people to see it. The seller wants it exposed. They want to have, a lot of people seeing the house, because we're used to doing open houses where we get 100 to 200 people at an open house.
All right, so that's interesting. So those crazy things that I see on Bravo, that's actually happening in LA, right? Because I thought that was all staged, right?
Parties. I've never seen a listing party like they show on $1 Million Listing. You see them, but it's because they're filming.
Okay.
What some brokers do in super high-end homes is we'll have, like a broker caravan with food and catering and stuff. But for the public, that stuff doesn't happen. But what we used to do is hold off on the showings, and we would put the house on the market later in the week and say first showing is at the open house, so that there always was a lot of people at the open house, which also created, a little bit of a intensity. But because we can't do that, and our sellers want to feel that their house has been shown, this has actually worked really well, and I like it. I think it's really efficient.
So are you seeing, and I know you guys your offers were a lot more aggressive long before we got to this point.
Yes.
Even back in pre-pandemic on my daughter's house, it was a little bit more aggressive. So
same thing on her house, just a smaller level. Yeah.
So we're seeing now that our buyers are doing things that I think you were already doing in California, which is waiving the inspections completely, assuming the entire differential between a purchase price and an appraisal, waiving out the appraisal and showing their proof of funds. Or even to the point now we're starting to see a new phenomenon where the sellers know we don't sell as many empty houses as you do in LA. Ours are still occupied for the most part.
Right.
And sellers are now dictating terms where they're saying, okay, I'll sell it to you, but I can remain here free of charge for 90 days post-settlement so that I can go buy my house non-contingent.
We've done that for a long time. Yeah. So it just depends on the situation. I would say since the pandemic, we are selling more vacant homes. 96% of them, people have left, even if they were living in the home, just because they don't want to be there. The couple that I have right now that are occupied, the owner leaves for that week of showings. They're going on an Airbnb mini vacation just to get out of the house so they can show it. But yeah, we've done the free lease back thing here for a long time, usually more when the house is being bought by a developer.
Okay.
Because lenders here won't let you go past 60 days on a lease back. So if it's longer, it's usually a developer. But even if it's shorter, sometimes it's a developer, homeowner, and a lot of times it is free.
Yeah, we're seeing that now too. So we're also seeing what we call the great migration out here in the Northeast, right? So we're seeing the fleeing of the city centers coming out to the burbs.
Wow.
For the last, 50 years, my entire life, everybody has talked about everybody fleeing New Jersey because of our insane property taxes, our income taxes. Everybody comes here because we have the best schools besides Connecticut in the country. But once they get past school age requirements, they flee. Now we're seeing we were the largest inbound in the country during the pandemic. But that was because everybody was leaving Manhattan and Philadelphia and running to us.
Interesting.
I remember when my daughter was out in Sherman Oaks that everything was based off of proximity to the freeways and your drive time.
Yeah.
With this new dynamic or this new normal of working virtual, are you seeing more people leaving like the Sherman Oaks area to go out to, Thousand Oaks or go a little bit further out from the city than they normally would have last year?
A little bit, but what I'm seeing more than anything is an influx into our area.
Okay.
So everything here is based on proximity to where you work for the most part. So yes, we are seeing a lot of clients who now say, I don't have to be 30 minutes from downtown or, whatever it is. Sherman Oaks has always been kind of what you guys think of as a suburb. In LA, we don't really have suburbs. Everything just runs into each other. But it is a little bit more of that over the hill is what everyone talks about. It's that Hollywood Hills you're going over. And if you're working on the west side in Century City or in downtown, you're living in the valley. Okay. Now people are able to go a little bit further out. And I do have some clients doing that because the prices in Sherman Oaks have gone up so much because all the west side and the people living downtown have moved out to where we are.
Okay.
So
And
we're getting more of the influx than the out.
yeah, well, my market is experiencing the influx, right?
Yeah.
My normal buyers are now competing with the people that are fleeing the city centers and fleeing Manhattan and fleeing Philly.
Exactly.
And coming into our normal market. And I guess we should clarify for anybody that's not on the West Coast in Southern California, when she's talking about drive time and she says 30 minutes, we may think we have traffic on the East Coast, but no, we have nothing.
No.
28 miles could take you 90 minutes or more, right? When you're talking the drive, you're talking less than 6 or 7 miles, right?
15 miles is an hour, a lot of the time, depending on the time of day. Everything is based on which direction and what time of day you're going. So yeah, whenever people move here, it's a comical conversation because they call me and they say, I'm working in downtown and I'll look at homes 60 miles away. And I was like, no, you won't. Not if you want to arrive at your job today. They don't understand. So yeah, it's not based on mileage. And I think it's one of those things you see on those sketches whenever they make fun of people in LA talking about driving. We don't ever talk about distance. We talk about time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's 20 minutes. It's an hour. It's not 5 miles.
Yeah, I've driven in what I thought was bad traffic in New York and DC and Philly until I got on the 405 and the 101.
Yeah.
And then I realized it's not even traffic. It's just a parking
lot. Mm-hmm.
And I was amazed that it was on Saturday and Sunday at 10 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock in the morning. It didn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
To me.
It's always my joke that, we clearly live in a place where people don't have normal jobs. A lot of people don't have normal jobs because at 12 in the afternoon, the freeway is packed. It's not rush hour. I don't know where all these people are going, what they're doing, but they're always out and about. It slowed down during the pandemic and it was actually pretty freaky. People would take videos of the freeway and nobody was out there. And it was so quiet, but it's pretty much back to normal now.
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed when our traffic died last April and May, but now it's back to like nothing ever occurred and everything's back to normal. So if a buyer's thinking about looking in the San Fernando Valley and they're looking for, the premium areas like a Sherman Oaks over a Van Nuys, where is their entry point now? I mean, can they get in for sub-million or?
It depends. So the most expensive cities in the San Fernando Valley are, Studio City, Sherman Oaks, and Encino. And we have these dividing lines of streets where it's like the further south you go, the more expensive it is. The further north you go, the less the price. Now for a really basic home, kind of like your daughter's home, maybe a 3-bedroom, 1,600 square foot house that has been updated, but not brand new and super flashy in that, normal yard. It's probably closer to $1 million now, $1.1 million, depending on which part of Sherman Oaks it's in. And even with that, a lot of the times it's like $1.4 million to get a fairly good sized home.
Wow. So to put that in perspective, she used my daughter's house in Sherman Oaks on Tobias as an example. That was 1,650 square, give or take, a 3-2.
3-bedroom, 2 bath.
50 by 100 foot lot, which is basically the standard lot size there. And last February, that house got all the money at like, what were you, 875?
Yeah. Something I have to look it up. That's what I was going to say, around 900-ish.
Yeah, it was right around 875 to 100. And now we're saying that same house is $1 million to $1.1 million.
Yeah.
Wow. So
no, it's skyrocketed since last year, especially.
So then with that occurring, are you seeing Van Nuys being regentrified a little bit to raise the affordability mark? Or?
A little bit. I mean, Sherman Oaks has done this like creep over the last 20 years. And every so often the boundary kind of keeps getting pushed more into Van Nuys. There are parts of Van Nuys that are super cute and I send people to all the time. We have a little neighborhood. We like to change areas here and give them other names. So there's a part of Van Nuys that's called Lake Balboa. So, it's like the part that more people want to be in. It's same with Valley Village. It's really North Hollywood, but we like to do that here, I think, just to take the stigma away from places that people thought were not good in the past. It cracks me up. But those neighborhoods, you can buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square foot house in Lake Balboa for $750.
Okay.
It's Sherman Oaks is significantly more expensive.
And then Studio City is a step up from Sherman Oaks again, right?
They're about even. Okay. The only difference is there is a big portion of Sherman Oaks that goes north of the 101. So there is a big section of Sherman Oaks where the prices are less. Studio City stops at the 101. So It's kind of like both of those southern sections are pretty much the same. They're just parts of Sherman Oaks where you still can get more affordable homes.
So, we're throwing around really big numbers. Yeah. For the average American, these are significant home prices because I think the average in the country is $350,000, $360,000. So where does that normal family, where can they afford to actually live, right? That family of four that's making $150,000, which is still a big number in today's world.
Right. Here, those numbers here would be very different. Okay. A family of 4 here couldn't live off $150,000.
Good point.
It's probably even in the poverty level here. So I have a lot of clients though who are buying in that price range, and they're not rich people. I think our incomes out here are higher for the most part. I have people who are even assistants at, movie studios who make $100,000 a year. So they can buy a condo, that's another option. But a 2-income working family here can usually afford that $800,000-$900,000 house. It's the down payment that's the biggest part for a lot of people, and that's what they're saving for. But if you do need to go out, because I have clients in all price ranges, and where I send them is further north and further west. So places like Reseda, Winnetka, Northridge, West Hills. You can get homes in the Reseda and Winnetka, you can get homes in the 6s.
Okay. All right.
Some parts of northern Tarzana and Woodland Hills, 700s, 800s. But it's kind of the really bare bones, starter budget for a house, I would say, is 700. And even that, you don't get a lot.
And you're
at least in my part of LA. If you go east, past downtown Los Angeles, it's cheaper. If you go south, it's less expensive, and if you continue north into like Santa Clarita, in that part, you can get a much bigger home. But again, you're talking an hour and a half, 2-hour drive if you have to get to LA.
So when you're saying east, what neighborhoods would they be? I'm trying to get my bear.
Really east. So Burbank is through the roof. That's super popular because it's not the city of LA. They have their own schools. LA's Unified is not known as having great schools. So people have to factor that in here too for private. Burbank is very popular, same with Glendale, but beyond that. So we're talking Arcadia, Monrovia, those are areas that I won't go to because they're just too far east. I'm just not as familiar with them. They're nice neighborhoods. But if you go out further, Whittier, we're talking 45 minutes east of downtown.
Okay.
Then you can get homes. There's also some neat little neighborhoods that are not as far, kind of surrounding Dodger Stadium, which is an area that historically wasn't great, but has started to really come around in the last 5 to 10 years. So Mount Washington, Highland Park, Glassell Park, a lot of these neighborhoods have already started to go crazy, but some of them are still coming around. So I've sold single family homes over there in the 6s and 7s.
Okay. And so in Jersey, we're, if you think you're a controlling state, we're extremely a controlling state, right? You guys are laxed and Texas compared to us in some respects.
Wow.
So you can't add a rental property or something to an existing single family home, but that's something that's not outside the norm in Southern California, right? Converting that garage into an apartment or an Airbnb or.
Yes. Well, they passed a law 5 years ago now, called the Accessory Dwelling Unit law in California. And it was meant for granny flats, basically. It was meant to have another ability to have a unit at your house originally for extended family. But then what they did with that change in the law was say you can also make it a rental unit now, and you don't have to add parking. So that was massive. So yes, you're seeing those all over the place. Huge companies have sprouted out who do nothing more than build them in your backyard. There's kit homes that the city just recently, I got an email a couple weeks ago. There's, about 12 basic plans that if you pick with one of those, the permit is overnight because they've already been approved and they're basically just a set plan. And people are doing them everywhere and using them for rental income or a home office. If their family member needs to live with them, it's an option.
Okay.
They cost about anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 to build, depending on how fancy, how big, all of that. And you can get it done really quick. We do have some pretty strict Airbnb rules here, so you do have a limit on that.
Okay. So I assume that they add good value to the home when you add these, or because you're giving up the yard space, are you neutralizing out?
Most people aren't giving up yard space because they're just taking over their garage. That's what's different about this new rule. You could always build these in the past. You just had to do them on top of your garage or in addition to your garage. Now you can get rid of your garage.
Oh, okay. All right.
And you can convert it. So it's not taking up a lot of yard space. Sometimes they do a little addition to them and pop out the back of the garage or something. We have a lot of houses with detached garages here. So that's what makes it kind of nice, is it is its own little structure, in your backyard. It's not attached to your house.
Something I found really unique when I was always go out to visit my daughter there was that people would have taken those detached garages and turned them into detached family rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Or home.
Oh, yeah. No one parks in their garage in LA. I've never parked in a garage my whole life. And you turn your garage into a gym. Yeah, the pandemic only strengthened that. But yeah, it was always, that was the kids' play area, your man cave, your office, your gym, so that you did have another space, because our homes are small, and that's 400 or 500 square feet. You don't want to just have it sitting there.
Now, prior to the pandemic and then during the pandemic up to where we are now, were you seeing a lot of foreign buyers coming in from overseas, or was that not really part of the market there?
It's not part of my market.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not something we've ever had in this market. I think maybe in the super high end, you have that, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, you have a lot of people coming from various parts of the world, Middle East and China, buying those $20 million houses cash. But in the more normal world, that's not really the case.
Okay. Then I found, compared to where we are in New Jersey, the way you guys conduct business is rather unique.
Okay.
So we're a settlement state, right? So you go under contract, you go through your inspections, you get your appraisal, and we all meet April 30th in a conference room.
Yeah.
We sit around the table. Maybe during pandemic, we were in two different rooms, but we were all there at the same time at 11 o'clock. The escrow clerk, or what we call the title clerk, went through all the paperwork. The funding came in, and she handed everybody the keys right then.
Yeah. Yours
is slightly different than that, isn't it? Just a little bit.
I like ours better. I don't understand how you guys do stuff that way. But yes, it is very different. So what you do in that one afternoon takes us the 30 days, 45 days of escrow, which you don't have escrow. So yes, we don't use lawyers. I do what your lawyers do for the most part.
We don't use lawyers in South Jersey. We use title companies.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we have the escrow and title here are separate, and they do two very separate things. So yes, we do all the paperwork and sign all of the papers over the course of the 30-day escrow, let's say. As you approach the final closing day, that's when then escrow and title start getting more involved. All the loan documents come from the lender and get sent to the escrow company. The buyer makes an appointment to sign them with an escrow notary. That happens usually about a week before closing. You guys do that on the final day.
Mm-hmm.
Those get sent back to the lender and approved. And then funding and closing takes 2 days here. And that's only Los Angeles because, we just like to be complicated for unnecessary reasons. Riverside, Orange County, they all do same day closings, but not in Los Angeles. So, the lender funds the loan the day before closing. And then that's obviously, we get a call for that. And then the next day is called recording. And that's when it actually gets stamped by the county as official. And we still are doing, now we're forced to do all electronic, but even before the pandemic, up to 2019, our title companies had to go and stand in line with a stack of forms.
And it was that clerk or whatever their title was standing in line at the clerk's office. Once that got stamped, that's when the keys got released to the buyer, right?
Yeah, then the title company would call the escrow company. The escrow company would tell the buyers and sellers, and then we would make arrangements to get the keys at that stage.
So in our world, everyone that I closed last month will not see their recorded deed for about 3.5 months. So we will close and they get a copy of their deed. Everybody gets a copy of it in the title policy and everything. And then it gets sent to the county clerk's office electronically. But it takes our county clerk about 3.5 months to actually record it and send it back.
Oh.
Which is when my daughter bought, I was joking that this would never work in New Jersey because you'd wait 3 months to get your keys.
Well, I guess, yeah, we don't get a copy of the deed that day. But you just get the phone call that it's been done. And
yeah, it's not even stamped yet. It takes 3 months.
God. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so I found that unique. But how are you counseling your buyers now as they're coming into this market and you're working with them? I'm advising mine to look at that asking price as like the opening number for an auction, right? That's the opening bid number. If you were bidding on something at Christie's or Sotheby's or eBay, it's the opening number. That's all it is. And if you can steal it for that number, be ecstatic, but be prepared to pay well above it. And we're also coaching them that if you're approved for, and I'll use your numbers.
Yeah.
If you're approved for $700,000 from your lender, you should be looking at $600,000 home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, we do the same thing. And, I tell everyone that the asking price is merely an asking price. You should not expect to get it for that price. Most of the time right now, I'm seeing houses go at least 10% over, sometimes 20% over. And exactly what you're saying. If my buyer can afford 900, I tell them don't look at anything. I try to tell them 8, but most of the time they want to still look at more. So I say no way more than 850. And if it's been on the market less than 2 weeks, you shouldn't even go look at it if it's over 850, because
you're not in the game.
You don't have a chance. Let it see if it's going to sell for that price or more. It's going to happen in the first week to 2 weeks, depending on the scheduling that they do and all of that. If it's been sitting, then you can look at it.
Yeah, and if they've been sitting, that means somebody made a mistake somewhere.
Right. Yeah, there's something wrong with the house, and that's the overall concept here. Most agents here purposely price things below in order to get multiple offers so that they can pick and choose every aspect of their offer and who they're going with.
Are you seeing appraisal issues out there like we're seeing out here?
We are not having appraisal issues, but everybody's waiving appraisal.
Okay. That's the first.
And if you don't, you pretty much don't get the house.
Are they waiving out their inspection at all, or?
We don't have that in Southern California. Northern California, that has been the norm always. Seller does all inspections up front
Okay.
for you, and you write a non-contingent offer. Down here, I've started taking that process and doing it starting in January. I've been getting pre-inspections for all my listings and handing those to the buyers, in the MLS with their showings and saying, write your offer based on this, knowing that there will be no further credits. You can still do your own inspections, but we won't be negotiating any more money.
So when you're doing that, and you're getting the 60-page report back, and is your seller preemptive making the material defect repairs, or they're just saying, this is what it is, take it if you. Wow.
They're not fixing anything. If they, like something we have out here with every house, tree roots in the sewer line. It's just normal. So we'll tell them to do that. That's a $500 hydrojet, blows out the stuff, but you see broken chimneys here constantly in houses because of earthquakes. No one fixes them. Even before this market, that was the case. But now, it's the point of these reports is to tell the buyer, you get to know what you're buying, warts and all, or no warts and all, versus what we're used to in Southern California is, let's write this offer, we'll do inspections, then we'll renegotiate, which this is the seller's off, obviously, and is a tactic that some people use, which isn't really fair. But, you can kind of spot those offers when you get them because you see how big the number is compared to everybody else.
Right.
But by doing it this way, I'm just telling people up front, no. But people here aren't comfortable enough not to have that inspection time frame.
So they're still taking their 21 days or 14 days or 10 days, whatever it may be.
Yeah. We give them 7 to 10.
Okay. All right. And are you finding it difficult to line up the inspectors? Because that's another issue we're running into in our inspection timelines, is they're so booked out now because of the insanity.
Yeah.
Trying to squeeze those in within our 14 days is killing us.
It is hard. When I'm writing offers, I put my inspectors on hold when I have one that I think is going to happen or like that we've gotten a counter offer on. I put them on hold.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea.
Or we've gotten acceptance. Because you're going to know within, probably 24 hours. Things here move really fast. So you put an offer in, you will probably hear back that day. Because most people, like I said, they collect them on one day.
Right.
Which I appreciate because then it's not this race, So we get them, you might hear that night or by the next morning you get a counter and you have 24 hours, if that. I've literally been given 4 hours to respond to a counter before.
So when they're doing that, and let's just say there's 20 offers on the table and you're in the one position and you're given that time frame to respond, they haven't said anything to the other offers yet, right?
Oh yeah, we counter everybody a lot of the time.
Okay, so let's just say you're 10% over, you waived your inspections, you waived your appraisal, you're accepted, but the buyer can't respond to accept it in a timely fashion. Has offer number 2 been notified that they're just a backup at this point, or are they waiting to see what you do?
I'm not sure if I'm understanding what you're saying. So what we do is, let's say we have 20 offers. I'm not going to counter all 20. That would be a nightmare, but we'll probably get it down to 10. Okay. We will send all 10 a counter at the same time. It's a multiple counter offer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we don't do the single. We have 2 versions of a counter offer here. We have singular. Yes, it's one. If you sign it, you're done. Then we have the multiple, which says we're countering any number of people, and everybody's counter can be different. It can be the same. It can be completely up to the seller. So most of the time we do the multiple.
And then if everybody writes back on the multiple counter, then what do we do?
Then it comes back. It always is that. What that does is it allows it to be back in the seller's spot. So everyone has to return to the counter. Most of the time people here do highest and best for price. They don't give a price. And then they've also countered terms, maybe specific to your offer or, all those different things. The buyers all respond back with their counteroffer of our counteroffer. And now it's back in the seller's court on who to pick.
And then once the seller signs off on it, it's done.
So yes, once the seller makes the final choice or the buyer, you can, if there's one offer that's just outstanding, sometimes I'll go back to that one person and say, you're getting a singular counter. You've got 3 hours to make a decision or I'm moving to the other people. That's kind of what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. So when you do that, the other 19 offers, you haven't said anything to them at all.
What I do in that situation is I multiple counter the other 19 so that their time frame is still live and they're still in the mix. And the one gets a singular. So if number one says yes, then I go with picking a backup from the other 19.
So yours is a little cleaner from ours there. So if I'm accepted today and we all sign off on today, I have another 3-day hold my breath period, which is what we call attorney review.
Oh.
So 3 business days after everybody has signed, either party can cancel that contract for no cause or explanation whatsoever. As long as it's done by either party, as long as it's done by an attorney before midnight of the 3rd business day. And it literally is no reason. It can say, if it's coming from the seller side, it says, I declare this contract null and void and return all deposit monies.
And you don't have to say why, you don't have to do
Nothing.
Wowza.
So which is, if you made that 10% over and you're a great deal, but on the 12th hour of the last day, someone comes in stronger than you, if you were a 20% down conventional and the cash showed up, they can just bounce you. Say goodbye. See you.
Oh, no. Yeah, here sellers actually have no right of cancellation ever unless they're in default, unless the buyer is in default of the contract. And then the seller can issue them a notice for 48 hours. If the buyer doesn't cure whatever the issue is, then the seller can cancel. But other than that, a seller here can't cancel.
Yeah, it was we don't traditionally, North Jersey is 100%, that's an attorney state.
Yeah.
South Jersey is not. So like 90% of my clients never engage an attorney. But if you're dealing with the North Jersey side, they always have an attorney. And then the attorneys also own the title companies.
Oh dear.
So it's interesting to say the least, but I loved it when we were, even in 19, when we were in multiple offer situations, it wasn't as insane as now. And you'd get a 3-page letter from an attorney in North Jersey requesting 27 changes to the contract. And you say, am I mailing the deposit back to you or to your client? And they pause for a second. They're like, well, why? I said, because I get sent out contracts to the backup offer. Your client lost the house. We're done. We're over.
Yeah.
It's really a crazy time for us. So it's offer accepted plus 3 business days. So if it happened on Thursday, you're still in attorney review.
Tuesday.
No, business. So Friday didn't count that Thursday. So it's Monday, Tuesday to Wednesday at midnight from a Thursday contract.
Why doesn't Friday count?
Last Friday didn't count because it was Good Friday. Normally,
I see.
And you would have went to Tuesday, right?
Okay.
The holiday falls on there.
Yes, pushes it.
Add another day. Or yeah, or if they send it to you on Saturday, now you're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And everybody's nail biting during that time frame.
Oh dear.
It's a nightmare.
No, that's a nightmare. I mean, our buyers here can pretty much cancel for the first, 7 to 10 days without any explanation under their inspection contingency.
They can say, I'm not happy with it. I'm done.
They don't have to tell you why. They don't have to give you anything to fix. It could be any reason.
That's where we get cleaner, I think. So if there's 20 items on that inspection report that need to be addressed, and we're taking out of this crazy market, a normal market, the buyer must give the seller the opportunity to cure those defects before they can cancel. So if you give me 20 items, if I say yes to all 20, we're in contract. If I say no to a $5 item that's one of your 20, you can cancel. Right. But as long as I agree to them all, we move forward, and that's it. I always find it interesting to talk to agents around the country to see how we all do the exact same thing, basically. We all do it a little different.
I
I was talking to a North Carolina agent on this, and when you make your offer, you make a due diligence payment to the seller.
I love North Carolina for this.
I think this is the greatest thing in the world.
Everybody should do this because it stops the people from writing bogus offers.
Yes.
Writing 5 offers on a house, on 5 different houses.
We're seeing a lot of that now because they're playing the odds that they're going to lose 4 out of the 5.
Right. Here, you're not technically allowed to do it, but people do. They do.
Here, you can only have one contract, one deposit, but they still do it left and right. And you go back to them after your multiple bid and say, okay, we're going to take your offer. And they're like, oh no, we're accepting on one of our other
offers.
Like,
I know. And they're supposed to disclose it. They don't.
No, but I love that in North Carolina.
Me too.
And I always loved in New York State in a normal market. I don't know what they're doing now, but buyers did their inspections prior to writing the offer.
That's interesting.
So I went in and found out what the warts were and then made an adjustment to my price based off of the warts.
Right.
We decided to move forward or not.
And how do they arrange that? How do you, what if 20 buyers want to do inspections?
They spread them out over their time. Right. I don't know what they're doing now, but I don't think New York State had that 20 buyer issue like you guys have been experiencing for some years, right? This is for us in New Jersey, this is a 2018, 2019, 2020 issue that we're learning to deal with. And we are, lining up in front of the houses in 15-minute increments, like we're getting prior to the Caribbean. Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
Spreading ourselves out and open. And then you get the agents and, at R4, a few of us were talking about this. The agent said we're only allowed the showings during the open house, but we're doing social distancing. So we're only letting in one buyer at a time to walk through the house. So I can only show my client maybe 2 houses that day.
Well, right, because you have to stand there and wait.
Yes.
You need an appointment. That's crazy. See, LA is weird that way too. We're not a place that used lock boxes historically. We always do everything by appointment only. And before it used to be both agents, buyer's agent, listing agent had to be there. So you had to make the schedule with your schedule, your seller's schedule, the other agent, and the buyers. And when you had a buyer that you were taking out to see 6 houses on a day, you were on a schedule.
You're on a tight schedule.
And if you're late, you miss your showing because that agent has to move around. We're all running around showing multiple houses. So yeah, that's crazy. But now the lockbox is actually, I love it.
Are you on Supra or combos?
Yes, we're on Supra. And because of COVID, we have to also do a code, a CBS, a call before showing code on top of the Supra so that you can't just show up.
Okay. Yeah, we've been running Supras for about 10 plus years now. I love them. Yeah. And then our appointment center is blocking everything out. They won't allow any overlaps. Like we used to pre-COVID allow the overlap and say, all right, well, the 2 professionals will work it out.
Yeah.
They're coordinate this when they get on site. They're not all going to arrive at 1:00 because of traffic or they were late at the other show. But now the system just blocks them completely and we're doing 15-minute increments. And you've got somebody waiting for you to get out when your 15 minutes is up.
Totally. We book them on the half every 30 minutes.
Okay.
And we tell them they have a 20-minute showing. So if there's 10 minutes in between.
So are you starting to see inventory increasing slightly as we're entering 2021 spring?
No, it's funny because we talked about this in the meeting we had this morning. We are actually lower today than we were at the same time last year.
All right. So we're identical there, right? Yeah. We were like market accumulation 1.5, 1.6 in April of last year. And we're at a 0.7 right now. So we have 3/4 of a month supply in my market.
Yeah, I'd have to look up and see what our numbers are. I don't keep track of all of that stuff so much, but it's probably the same. I mean, I see maybe 10, 15 houses come on the market, a week, if that.
Really? Now, is that just Sherman Oaks or is that?
No, that's like Sherman Oaks, Studio City. It's, not a lot.
So we're talking like, and I'm sure you don't know the number of your head, but I got to think there's it's got to be 100,000 homes in those, between those three markets, if not more.
Oh, there's way more than that.
And we're talking 15 a week out of that number?
Way more than that. Yeah. New ones.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mind boggling. That is.
I mean, yeah, we've never had a ton, because it's just our world. I mean, there were times when you could go see every house that came on the market on Caravan because, there was only 10 new listings.
Well, who bothers with Caravan anymore, right?
Well, not now, but but
there when you get back to the office anyway, so there's no point.
Right. It was just the way that you got to see it before your client. That was the only chance an agent got to see it because of our appointment structure.
Right. I got you.
Yeah. But no, and it just depends. Obviously it's week to week, but it is lower than it has ever been even after last year.
So did the fires have an effect on this at all, or just by removing inventory?
No. The fires, they're bad and they're horrible, but they're not burning thousands of homes. They might burn 50 homes or 100 homes. Yeah. We don't have the kind, we fortunately haven't had the kind here that have taken out entire neighborhoods like Northern California. And up there, they have put things into place for that.
And you're not in your drought situation anymore that you were a few years ago.
No, and that doesn't change anything anyway. The only thing here that changes,
earthquakes and no water have no.
Well, no, that's what I was going to say. Earthquakes. The only thing that changes stuff here is an earthquake. And I've lived here my whole life. I've never been affected by an earthquake. Thank goodness, knock on wood. But, in the real estate market, we haven't had a bad one since Northridge. And that is the only thing that really does have a massive impact on our market. People flee, prices go up.
Prices go up?
Prices go down. I'm sorry. Prices go down. Yeah. People flee, people freak out. But what's comical is the people who are born and raised here always joke about waiting for an earthquake to, strike and get the house when the price goes down. Because
it's like
East Coaster is running, screaming, and heading back home.
Well, I have a lot of relatives that are native Floridian, South Florida, Lauderdale and all.
Yeah.
And I'll see the Category 5 approaching and send them all text. Listen, you guys want to get out of Dodge? I have extra bedrooms. So like, that's no big deal. We're good. We're fine.
They don't even flinch. See, and that to me is crazier. That happens every year on the schedule.
Yes.
It's coming. So I don't understand that. And the rebuilding, and that I don't get. Here, you might experience it once in a lifetime. You know what I mean? A bad one.
You get your tremors all the time.
Yeah, I got woken up not last night, the night before at 4:00 in the morning. There was a 4.0 in Lennox.
But you're blowing this off like it was nothing. It's just
a 4.0 is nothing.
So when do we worry? At like 7?
It wakes you up.
So is that like if your spouse was nudging you or something, like that's the wake up, or
like a giant train went by on the, probably in New York or Chicago,
which we pay no attention to, right?
Exactly. Makes your here, like if you're somewhere near the train tracks, everyone thinks there's an earthquake. It's not. Yeah, but it is. It's just that it wakes you up. You hear a little noise and a rumble, but nothing's falling down.
Okay.
But it also depends how far away it is from you.
And then I would also assume it depends on how new your house is too, right?
To some degree. My house is from 1939, so it doesn't have a whole lot of earthquake preparedness and never had any issues.
Okay.
But earthquakes are so random. There's different kinds of earthquakes. There's the rolling earthquake. There's the jarring earthquake. There's the up and down earthquake. So it depends. They're wacky. It has to be pretty significant though for it to make any real impact.
Well, I've had a blast. And I've eaten up a good hour of your time, and I want to really thank you for that. So if anybody listening is thinking about buying or listing their home, in the San Fernando Valley or the surrounding markets, what's the best way to reach you?
My website is Elizabeth Sells, SELLS.com. And it's Elizabeth with a Z. And my phone number at the office is 310-246-0888.
Awesome. And
I'm
for everybody,
also Facebook and Instagram, sorry about that, all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, and if you check her out on Facebook, you get to see all those polo photographs and everything, and they're really cool pictures of the cheetahs.
Cheetahs.
Before I let you go, how did you get involved in cheetahs? I mean, like,
I'm a huge animal person. I've been on safari. My whole life I've been involved with animals. And I found the cheetahs while on safari in Africa the first time, and then started volunteering in Namibia at the headquarters of the Cheetah Conservation Fund. So I try to go there every couple of years, and I actually work and volunteer doing anything and everything from gardening to paperwork in the office to rescuing cheetahs, re-releasing cheetahs into the wild, taking care of baby cheetahs. And we have a huge scientific arm as well. And because of that, I donate a portion of all of my sales. 10% of all of my income that comes to me from my sales goes to an animal charity. My biggest one is the Cheetah Conservation Fund. And I also have some of them on my website. I have the Polo Pony Rescue, Best Friends Animals, various, they're all animal related.
that's awesome. That is truly awesome. And, for everybody listening that didn't catch the numbers and everything, they will be in the show notes. So you'll be able to click off, go right to Elizabeth's website or Facebook or Instagram, everything there. I'm going to see you in Phoenix in about a month.
Yes. Yes.
So, Elizabeth and I belong to a Buffini & Company group called White Hats, which is, the best of the best from the best of the best, right? So we're the top guns of the top guns.
Exactly.
So I will see you there. I'll see you poolside at the bar in about 30 days.
Nice.
Stay safe.
You too.
Social distancing and keep writing those offers.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.